we'll give it some time because we are a little late.
We're gonna do an intro.
I know. Oh, I didn't do intro music. Sorry. I didn't put disclaimer on here yet either.
You didn't.
Why don't you just sing?
Oh. You don't want that. You don't.
What are we wanting to sing here?
I don't know. Whatever you want to sing. Hi. It's nobody. Oh, there's one person. So that's the thing too. I got to figure out like if questions come across, like in the middle of it, we don't see them. So we'll just have to like get those questions like afterwards or whatever. So.
Yes. This is breathing time.
Don't let me forget to put disclaimer.
Get to put the disclaimer.
Okay, well, you guys remind me afterwards. Disclaimer: we do not know the music.
So just breathe. We come. We're impromptu. The way God have His way.
We got it.
So we give everybody a few minutes to join us.
Yes, we're up to 7. Oh, look at us grow.
Like little sunflowers.
You're so precious.
And my sunflower class. My dusty water.
It's dusty.
If you're joining us, welcome. Come on in. Come on in and join us. Sometimes you just gotta trust God.
Absolutely. That's what we're doing.
That is it.
Right?
Because our sound system is so state of the art.
We fancy.
We fancy life.
So welcome to Talk It Out, Talk It Out, Talk It Out.
Welcome, welcome,
Yes,
welcome.
we are so excited. So today we have our second guest, official second guest, and I'll do a little. Well, I mean, pretty much what you're seeing is pretty much what you got as far as our little setup that we have now. Tomorrow we'll have some new chairs to add in here. So welcome. We've got Hannah King with us today. She came into. She works in the same building as we do, and she's like, "Hey, if you guys ever need a topic, I've got one." And we were like, "Well, I don't think you were there yet." And,
No, I wasn't.
and I was like, "Hey, we can always hit Hannah up for a topic on Sunday."
Yeah,
So she chose to share her story with us. So that's what we're here for. So Hannah, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can jump into those fun questions. Or you don't have to, whatever you want to do. Like, this is literally, whatever.
Impromptu.
Don't be scared.
Impromptu.
Don't be
Don't be
scared.
scared. Okay. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Just shake it off. Okay. My name's Hannah. I work with these lovely ladies at the VA. Of course, we are in the same building, so I know their chemistry with each other. It's always laughs and giggles, so I love it. I love the personnel. They're very hardworking ladies. They're very serious ladies, but I love the chemistry that they have together in the same room because I think that's awesome to have a relationship like that. Been with the VA for about 3 years, and I think like every person, I think we all go through ups and downs in life, and I had my fair share of them and my fair share of healing from them. And so one of those moments that was hard to embrace and try to navigate through was reaching out to find my biological family. So I decided to take the plunge and did it.
So here's an unofficial question that's not on our list. So when did you find out that you were adopted?
So I kind of knew about it growing up, but I was mostly approached with all of the information when I was 18 years old. It was right before I graduated high school. My parents sat me down, explained everything to me, gave me all the information, laid it out. And it's not that I didn't want to embrace it and take off with it and be like, oh, okay, well, great, I'm going to go find them. It was, at that time, I had a lot of events taking place. I was going to be graduating my senior year. I was also, at that time, I was engaged to be married within 3 weeks of graduation.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of big events. I was enrolled to start college as well. And as a young person at 18, it just really wasn't in my mind. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until a few life-changing moments happened, and it seemed like no matter where I was going with life, mm-hmm. and I think we're all guilty of it, being human beings, we have a tendency to keep going on roads, and you hit roadblocks. And then when you hit the roadblock, you're always like, why am I hitting this? Like, I changed this to do this, or I'm doing this career because this is what I figured I should be doing. And you would hit a bump and be like, okay, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like,
so I would think that being 18, that's a surreal moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, how do you even brace yourself to have that type of conversation? And then on the receiving end, you know, it's surreal.
It is. And I love my family for being so open and so honest about everything, and laying it out for me, and seeing everything from how the whole process had started, and then, you know, being able to go and get me where the meeting point was, and then bringing me home and finding out when the adoption was done. And honestly, at that time, being only 18, I really don't think I would have been prepared for it like I was when I started on the journey to pursue it when I was in my 30s.
So that brings us to today, because we do have a series of questions that we can probe a little bit.
I don't tolerate pain too well. But
see, the thing that people, if you don't discuss certain topics, then some people may not be as open as you are to discuss this topic, you know, and some people are a little more closed off. So you talking about it can help promote healing for someone else.
And I think, honestly, at first it was, when this journey began for me, I had a lot of mixed emotions. I'm not going to lie. And I think for my biological family as well, when the information started coming into them as, you know, well, wow, this girl's reaching out to me and claiming that, you know, she's my daughter that I had placed for adoption, and then leading from that conversation that, oh, I had a biological brother, and then the mixed emotions of just our conversations I was having with my birth mom through just Facebook Messenger, until we hit a comfortable stage to exchange phone numbers. And it was just like, all the emotions I was going through in that process, I was prepared to handle it then. And I'm so excited to share this, because I feel like it's kind of been like, it's been just with me, it's been with my husband, it's been with my biological family, and it's been with my family here. And if anything, I hope it does give somebody else the encouragement to, maybe if you feel there's a piece of you missing, you know, try to find it. And I know that it's not always going to be a fairy tale ending, and it's not always going to be, you know, roses, but I'm very grateful for the turnout I got out of this.
Because you totally could have gotten a total opposite.
And honestly, it was my biggest fear.
So, can I ask, I know this is like, see?
Impromptu. That's how we rolled. Boom.
So you found out when you were 18. Was there a span of time before you started to do your research, or was it like an immediate thing?
I was 31.
Okay, so there was some time there.
Yeah, a lot of time. And a lot of life that took place between being 18 and 31, and different stages of your life that you go through, from being what still seemed like a child to turning into a young woman. And I had different career changes and just different life obstacles. And I had some moments in my life that it kind of hit me really hard, in a way that I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to handle it. And my husband will be the first person to tell you, my heart is on my shoulder. Like, I just, emotions run high. You don't know what it's like, Cass? Michelle gives me the opposite look, but it runs high.
Sometimes.
It really does. And I can't help that. it just comes naturally. But now I can kind of like reflect and laugh about it, and I'm sure my brother gets a kick out of it all the time because he's like, you know, oh my gosh, like you got this one crying, you got this one crying now, like, okay, yeah, you two are definitely like it's just now I'm like, oh, well, this is where it comes from.
I'm going to log in case people have questions, you know, because
I was trying to figure out how. I'm not a good multitasker anymore, so
yeah,
I'm older than you.
So let's see.
I do have an iPad though. It's
I would like if anybody has any questions, that way they could ask them. We have some people making comments, and a lot of people are proud of you.
Oh.
So.
and if we don't get to all the questions again, we can always hit those up like.
Oh gosh, yes,
we
please. Like I am all about, you know, I honestly hope one thing is like through this whole thing is it to just gain encouragement, whether or not you're the one who was adopted and you're trying to find that missing puzzle piece, or maybe you're the one that placed the child, and you just want some clarity that everything's okay. That child's okay. Because as a mother, when you carry a child and you know you're going to make a life-altering decision of adoption, I mean, those women have to have such a huge amount of strength behind them.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't imagine. And she was very young. And when you're young like that, decisions, it's hard to kind of perceive and make sure, am I making the best call? And so being a God-believing woman and such strong faith, I mean, she put so much prayer and being placed with a family that is also faith-based, and we were raised in church.
Wow.
I mean, God knew what he was doing. Whether or not she had that same comfort on her end,
Right.
I mean, he knew exactly where I needed to go.
The story was already written.
It was already written. It was already being started.
Riding along.
Who knew at 31 I was going to turn around and find out that my story would be getting continued, and it was only 45 miles away from me.
Wow.
That is how close they actually are. They are all over in Cape, and I have no clue.
That's fascinating.
Right? I mean, my hair just stood up. I mean, literally. And I sat there because I will never forget, like, just thinking about that when I said something about, you know, when I first got names and then I found out where they lived, I was like, I'm like, you know how many times we go to Cape? Like, we go to Cape all the time. For him, he likes to go to like gun and knife shows and stuff, and we would go down and just do little things like we would go to the mall. We would little animals.
Paths may have crossed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I caught myself so many times sitting there at restaurants, and I'd be like,
wonder.
what if that was my family like over there, or maybe I kind of look like them over here, or did I open the door for somebody and I even realize that here I am years later, I'm going to cross your path.
Do you remember when we were at Texas House?
Oh my gosh. And it's funny you say that because that's exactly where the meet took place.
Texas
Wow.
House.
FYI, honey, I want that for dinner if you're watching. But yeah, that's where it took place.
So we have some questions.
Yes.
I'm ready to jump into.
We've already jumped in.
We're jumping. We're diving. We're diving.
Okay.
Go.
All right. So I would say this is your first question, but it's really not. So we're just going to move right along. So what motivated you to search for your birth parents or your birth mom? We should go.
So for me, like I said, I kind of had a lot of bumps in the road, and I was also just trying to find myself. I knew I was trying to regain and fix my faith with God because that's what I was always raised in. We were raised in a Pentecostal home, and it was just something that I knew I still had, but with all of the bumps in the road, I kept hitting and getting plowed by these semis that just were just blindsiding me over and over again. I needed to find that missing puzzle piece because no matter where I was going, I still felt, no, this is not my answer. This is not providing me with what I'm still needing. I need to find my roots. I need to find my roots, and then from there, I'll know, and I'll feel complete.
So was it more psychological, emotional, mental, these obstacles?
Emotional.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of emotional things, and some mental things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being honest, and honestly, I will tell you right now, I love to be the person for somebody to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to, like, even open up about this topic, is a huge step for me, because I don't really ever share things. Yeah. I just don't. Like, I'm always the one who wants to be the person that you can come to. Yep. I've just never been the person that's ever been like, I've been there, and here's what happened with me. And so in this new stage of my life, I'm finding and discovering that there are purposes that each and every one of us have. And me and Cassie, we were touching on this before we got started with this. Today, it was just like her sermon she talked about, and my sermon, my preacher has talked about twice now in a row. There's a purpose brewing in me. And so if what I'm doing today is going to open doors for, like I said, ones that are adopted, maybe you're considering adoption. I know that is in my heart, and my husband is agreeable with it, with me, that one day we will adopt. And that's just what I want to do. I want to carry it on, because, like I said, I had no harsh feelings towards her. She did what she had to do, what any mother would do, and that's pray and hope for the grace of God, my baby will be okay. And I want to do that for another child. I want to give them that, a home and love, and just to feel like they belong somewhere. They didn't have to get this call from me, but they did. And then the last time that she saw me, I was 2-3 days old.
Wow.
And then she didn't see me again till here I was turning 32.
A woman yourself.
Yeah.
Well, can you share the process you went through to find them?
Oh.
We don't need to know. We're not going to be that greedy that we need to know every detail, but just a little bit of the process.
So I first went looking for her, and it's funny because I laugh about the situation, how it happened. I found her and finally had the courage to reach out to her and message her by a post she had for a living room set for sale. See, exactly. Like, I laugh about it, and I'm sure if they're watching right now, they're probably laughing. But yeah, so I saw this post, and I had tried several times before to send a message, and my gut would start turning, and that fear of
anxiety.
You're going to get rejected. This is going to be a wound that maybe she doesn't want to reopen and revisit, or it's been this amount of years, and guess what? Like, she doesn't want anything to do with you. So don't even waste your time. So I kept fighting that in my head, and I finally just took the plunge, and I saw this furniture listing, and I sent her a private message about it, and I was like, hi, this is so-and-so, or what you would have known me by, and I was like, and I said the name that she had named me.
Wow.
So about 2 weeks go by, 2.5 weeks, and I hadn't heard anything, and I checked again on Facebook, and the furniture listing was down. I'm like, okay, well, she probably thinks, I had a scammer trying to hit me up or something, so no, I'm not going there with you, sister. And literally, it was like a Friday evening, I get this humongous response back. And it was like, hi, yes, this is so-and-so. And yes, I did place you up. And it was just like, I remember being at home, and my daughter, she was a little bitty at the time. We had her in a swing, and we were just sitting out there. We were going to go in and have dinner, just enjoying a nice evening. And I felt my phone go off, and I just kind of looked at it, and then I saw this message. I'm like, what the heck, what is this? And I went to look at it. when I did, I just like dropped it, and he was like, my husband's like, well, that was good on your phone. You just broke it. And I'm like, she messaged me. He goes, who? And I was like, birth mom. And he's like, you're kidding. I said, no. I'm like, she just messaged me back. And I literally, like, I stood there, and like, it's got me chilled right now. I just was like, I don't even know what to say. And he's like, you got to say something. And I'm like, well, I know that, but I'm like, I don't know what to say back. I don't know even
okay, just checking
how
things.
to respond. Like,
bye-bye.
And his response.
and it took me a few minutes, and then I did respond back to her, and then what I thought would be just, a couple of tidbits here and there turned into like a 4 or 5 hour conversation just through
I'm
Facebook
sure
Messenger.
that the courage it took you to even send a message, it probably took a similar courage for her to respond.
Yeah. And that's what she told me, because she had a lot of
and that's okay.
emotions in her mind.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I don't know how many times I would type a message out, and then I would delete it, and just put the phone down and say, no, don't do this to yourself. You're going through enough. You don't need any more pain. But then I would always go back to it, because God was working this the whole
Brought you
time.
back, yep.
And was saying, no, you're going to do this, because this is the time in your life when you are so frail and fragile, and you need these people. You need them because of their strong faith and how they are in church, and just the moral support that they could give you that I didn't even know yet, but just after meeting them and seeing it and feeling it, he knew I needed it. He knew I needed that to get me through the rest of my obstacles. So
I feel like we're answering like a lot of these
I know.
questions as we go.
I hate to move to the next one.
I know. I mean, maybe she just needs to tell her story, because honestly, I mean, like, I'm looking at these and I'm like,
we may not get to all of them.
Yeah.
Hey,
we'll try to
we're
get to some of them.
So really, this next one was, what emotions did you experience during the search and after reconnecting with your birth mom?
The feelings of, like I said, fear and rejection, they were high. I'm not gonna lie, it was very high. And even though we messaged for like weeks on end, I was still so nervous, because I'm like, she's going off of my word and I'm going off of her word. But I think for me, until I knew, like, I physically met this person and they matched up to what everything I knew, I was like, I think for me, I still kind of had a little bit of feeling like, well, what if this is somebody just playing a really harsh joke with me? And I didn't want her to think that at all about herself, because I'm sure she was still sitting there playing this like, is this really happening? Is this really happening? This girl that I last saw as a baby in a hospital, and now this young woman in her 30s is just randomly messaging me on a living room set that I have for sale, and it's like, here goes a whole door. Here goes a whole chapter that I didn't plan to write.
So let's ask you this. So how did finding your birth parents impact your sense of identity and belonging?
So it really opened a lot for me as to just, honestly, my kooky personality, I say. I'm very musical. And I've always done, growing up, I did show choir. I was the youngest choir member at my church. I was 12 years old. I was even in a Christian band. I played, I played guitar. I played piano. And I went to a solo competition my senior year. And of course, I always worked myself up when I would do these competitions, and I ended up losing my voice the week of it. And so I go into the competition, and the day before, I gained a little bit of my voice. And my teacher's like, oh, honey, I really hope you can do this tomorrow because like this is a powerful song. I'm like, I'll be good. Trust me. And something the judge wrote on there was, I've never felt emotion in a song until I heard you sing today. She goes, I literally needed to go cry. And I was like, wow. And I, at the time, was even doing a DJ business. I started at 15. And so I would do, I did events at Heron Park. I did weddings. I did Christmas parties for banks, for big businesses. I did some events at the Civic Center. I did Heron Fest. Like, I was doing all kinds of stuff. And I loved it. I loved connecting with my audience. I loved connecting with kids. I did some events for some of the schools. And so music for me was what I would run to get my emotions off, because I always carry them here. So instead of crying it out, I would sing it out. And if it meant for an hour, if it meant for 5 hours, I would sing till I was hoarse. And then I find out how musical they are.
Wow.
She sings. She sings at her church. My brother, he is very talented in doing drums and has also done some singing as well here and there. And it's just crazy because to this day, he's kind of passing that talent on because he has a son that is also doing band in high school. And it's just crazy because I'm like, oh, that's where that comes from. Or like our, my laugh sometimes, like I can sound like Little Miss Piggy if I really get into it, but how I laugh. And I remember the day I met her, she stunned me that day because I was not prepared to go and meet my brother that day, which I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a minute. But the day we did that, I remember him saying in a message to me later on, he was like, yeah, when you and Mom were sitting there and talking, I was like, oh, wow, yep, you two are just alike. I was like, oh, I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I was like, what did I do? What was it I did? But there's so many things that I see her do, I see him do, and then I caught myself doing it, and I'm like, oh, or she's
and that's
like,
so weird. I mean, you didn't
I didn't acknowledge it. No.
Yeah.
And then like, he has a tendency, like, it's funny when he says it, and he says the for sure. And there's been times that I have just said it, and if she's been around me or she's been on the phone and I've said it, she's like, all right, Michael. And I'm like, what? And she's like, your brother says that, and that is you. And I'm like, but I've always said that. She goes, well, your brother says it too, so that's why you two are alike. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's
So
crazy.
I think it's cool. It's cool.
It is
because
cool.
Just like we have features that our parents have passed on to us.
Yeah.
So whether it's the eye color or the hair color,
Yep.
there's spiritual gifts that are passed on, you know. So
Yes.
if they have the ability to sing and that's passed on to you, I completely
Yeah.
understand it. But not being in the same location and discovering that upon meeting them, I'm sure that. So that was a positive
Mind
impact.
blown,
It was.
Yeah.
It was so huge for me. And the fact that, like I said, I didn't know how, because she has my brother and then she has 2 more sons. So I didn't know how she raised them. I knew they went to church. Like I said, we were raised in a Pentecostal home. And so it was very, very strong for us. It was every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every prayer meeting, every choir practice, like everything. And that's exactly how she raised them. And that's exactly how she is. She sings with the church and she's involved with the church. And my brother, he is in a church that today I saw they celebrated their 6-year anniversary that him and some other young people started down in Cape. And I just think that's like so huge. It's so tremendous to see that somebody with a gift like that, and when I met them and his wife, just the gifts that they bring in general, like what they're doing for the public and creating a church with others. I mean, that's just huge.
Right.
I don't have that kind of talent,
No.
but he does. And the things they do, the things that they put on in the church, the groups that they are involved in, And not just that, but their kids are involved in it, and their kids just absorb it, and then they reflect it. It's just absolutely, I mean, it's heartwarming. And I love it so much because it helps in so many ways for me to, like I said, get back to where I needed to be on my level of faith.
All right. Again, I feel like we just kind of...
Are you crying?
I said, you know,
listen, last weekend I was emotional, this weekend I'm emotional, it's all good.
Oh, no.
So this question is, what was your initial meeting with your birth mom like? So we've kind of, I mean, we've really kind of already hit that topic.
Well, I did say it was at Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Everybody knows they got good food.
And rolls.
Oh, gosh, yes, girl, the rolls. However, the rolls catch up with me. I start counting mine, so I just got to stop. But, no, it was, I remember that day oh so well. It's just embedded in my mind. I remember pulling into the parking lot, and the whole time, like, I even shut the car off, and I was, like, sitting there, and I was just still gripping the steering wheel, and he's just like, are you going to get out? And I was like, And he's like, well, I think they're going in. And I was like, where are they? I didn't see him. And he's like, over there. Look behind you. I'm pretty sure that's them. And I was like, I see him in the mirror. He's like, well, are you going to get out? Yep. In a second. And I just, like, held the steering wheel. And he was just like, I'm taking the key. And I get out, and I remember walking up to that door. And it was just like, when you see in those movies, everybody is just slow-mo passing you. And you're just, like, walking, like, what is going on? Just going to that door to just grab the handle and open it, it felt like all the air in my lungs just disappeared. And she was standing there waiting at the hostess stand. They were getting a table, and she had her back to me, and her husband turned around and looked in my direction and was like, hello. And I was like, oh. And I just kind of looked at him, and she was like, they're here. And she was talking, and then looked down at her phone and said, she's here. And she looked up at me, and it was just like instant. Like it just hit. Emotion, tears, crying. Again, like I said, if my brother and them were watching, he's like, yep, that's mom, yeah. I walked up to her, and I was like, hi, and she's like, you're her, you're Hannah. And she just grabbed me so tightly, and just the embrace was just, I mean, like you see in a Disney movie where it's like, it was just like, it clashed instantly. And oh my gosh, the embrace that she gave was just, I can't describe it.
Do you feel like healing had started then? Do you feel like, or had it?
I kind of do. It kind of like started to sink in. And the thing about that, when she embraced me, all those fears in my head of rejection, and she's not going to want anything to do with you. She doesn't want to know who you are now. Like, why would you even torment this lady with coming back into her life? Like, this was already hard enough. Like, was gone with just that one embrace. I mean, I could still feel that embrace she gave me that very day, and just saying, like, she held my face, and she was just like, oh my gosh, it's like, hair's so curly. And I was like, I said, yeah. I was like, it's a pain sometimes. And you want it? And she was just like, oh my gosh. She's like, the last time I saw your face, you were here. And it was just like, we sat at a table, and we were there for like 4 or 5 hours. And
Texas Roadhouse is loud.
It is. But if anybody's been around me long enough, they know I can get loud too. So it was
That's powerful.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And I remember I ordered food, and it was my favorite, but I didn't even touch it. Girl, I didn't even touch the rolls. Like, I was just sitting there at the table, and I remember her like reaching across and like touching my hands, and I just kind of like let her hold them for a second, and she was just like embracing them like you would a little child. And she was just like caressing my fingers, and she was just like, I never thought I would have this day come where I'm embracing you. And I just kept looking at her and just staring directly in her eyes, and all I could just see was just, it's you. It's you. You are that baby.
How did you feel when you left from that meeting?
Oh, well, honestly, I was so excited, but I kind of got a monkey wrench thrown in there. And it was very shocking because I've already gone through, 4 or 5 hours of emotions and talking and trying to get just a little information out there about my life. And she kept checking her phone, and she said, there's somebody who wants to meet you besides me. And I was like, what? And she goes, your brother has invited you to come to the house and meet with him as well, if you're okay to. If it's too much, I understand. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. We're already here. Let's do this.
Still in that surreal moment.
Yeah. And I remember driving all the way there, and the death grip of that steering wheel. I mean, when the song "Jesus Take the Wheel" comes to mind, I had that wheel.
You gotta let it go.
No, Jesus wasn't taking it from me. I had it. I had the wheel, and I was death gripping the whole thing. And I remember pulling up to the house, and as she got out of the car, and my husband gets out, and she comes to mine, and she's standing outside the door. She's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, And I get out of the car, and I stood up, and I went, "Oh, hold on." And she's like, "Is it too much?" I go, "Nope. My legs just about went." I said, "So give me a second." I said, I'm good. And whole way up there, she was in front of me, my husband was behind me, and we're walking up to the door, and I could already hear the kids. I could just hear them. And I was like, oh my gosh, she has kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have nieces or nephews. And the door opens, and he embraces. He's like, hey, Mom, and hugs her, and he stands there and gets through the line, and here I am in the back, and he goes, well, hello. And I'm like,
hey.
It's like, I couldn't even talk. I'm just standing there. And I hear someone say, your name's Hannah. I'm like, yeah. You want to have a seat? Yeah. I'm like, the only thing I hear right now is my knees. They're knocking. They're knocking really bad. And I had a seat, and he sat down, and I remember looking over here to my side, and then I would look over here in front of me, and I was just like, okay. Oh boy. Oh wow. I was like, okay, Lord, do something right now. This is a lot. And it was insane how his personality, who he is as a young man to this day, never growing up with him, he was nonchalant. He was so calm, and he just jumped into talking with my husband just like he was just one of the regular guys that's always stopped in, talking about trucks and talking about the Tahoe, because we had just put rims and tires, so they're talking about guy stuff, and I'm still sitting over here like, is anybody else hearing that? That's my niece. Anybody else hearing this still? Because they're shaking, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And she would talk to me a little bit to keep me calm, and I kept trying to look at him, and every time he would turn he was gonna talk to me or anything, I would just kind of be like, I got caught. I'm like, oh Lord. And it was just insane. And then I met his wife that day, and I met the kids, and the most heartfelt moment. It really was.
Did it get easier after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It did. It really did, because I had sent a message to him on Facebook and just said, thank you for opening your door to me, and I wasn't expecting that, but I can't wait to see what transpires from here on out. And it had been a few weeks or so, and I get a alert for a Facebook message, and he's like, yeah, sorry, I don't know anything about this stuff here, so I didn't even realize you had sent a message, so I apologize. And he's like, yeah, this is totally cool. I'm sitting here going, oh wow, this is my sister. And I'm like, yep. And I've been sitting here saying, I just met my brother. I have a brother. And
lot to absorb.
This is so crazy. And I have more nieces, and I have a nephew. I have a nephew. I'm this is insane. And I'm like, your wife, she's just a sweetheart. Not ever knowing him, at all, and meeting them that day, I mean, they're just an amazing pair.
So from that time until now, how has the relationship evolved? Like,
Oh my
you
gosh.
seem like you guys are close, or you have a good relationship.
Yeah.
So,
That's question number 8.
I'm sorry.
At this point in time, we're just going to go with whatever comes out of our mouth. It's all good. I mean, it's really getting all answered without asking questions.
You know, it is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
It is very strong. They have been so amazingly supportive through still some life obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really done my best as well to be there for them in situations. And especially like for me here, I have a sister and she's 13 years older. So I'm the baby. So, you know, I'm considered, you know, the pesty one. Now I just tell my brother, like, if I send a text message or anything, like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, it's your pesty sister. I'm the older one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh boy, like, you got a lot coming for you. Like, older sis here, yeah, I got a lot of catching up to do with you. Childhood banter and everything. But it is just, honestly, amazing. The bonds that are growing, not just with us, with his kids and my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Especially just how the first time they ever met Timber, and I took her down to meet them. We actually went and we had lunch, and then we went bowling as a group, and it was so fun. I remember my brother, Michael, had walked over, and Timber was like sitting on a cell phone, and she was watching Mickey Mouse, and he just kind of like got down and like kneeled beside her and was just kind of watching over her shoulder, and all of a sudden she kind of like gets the feeling, I guess somebody's there. She kind of looks like, who are you? Like, what do you want? And looks at him funny. He's like, hey, how's it going?
Mm-hmm.
And she was just kind of like at first like, and then after that, it was all gone.
Mm-hmm.
When we left that day, like, she was climbing in their car wanting to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait a second, where are you going? Like,
Mm-hmm.
really? Like, we're not the cool parents anymore? And she was hugging them, and she was hugging the kids. And when you put my daughter with his 2 youngest ones,
Mm-hmm.
it's honestly, from the back, hard to tell.
Really?
Their hair's the same, and their skin complexion is the same. There's been times that it's like, I even compared baby pictures, and when I put mine, my brothers, and Timber's next to each other,
Mm-hmm.
we all look the same across the
Wow.
board, and it gives me chills. And he's
What are
gonna,
the age differences with the kids?
so Skylar's the oldest, and he is a freshman in high school. And then you have Sailor, and she's in junior high. And then you have Scarlett, and she is about 1.5 years older than Timber. And then Sterling actually just had a birthday and just turned 7. Timber just turned 7 in December.
Wow.
They're like
Cool.
2 months and a few days apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, like I said, this whole journey has been amazing. And especially with her coming forward and wanting to be baptized the last time that we were down there around Christmas. I went to go and get her, and we were getting ready to get on the road and come home. And I went to the little girls' area upstairs where they were playing, and I heard their little voices echoing a song. And when I peeked around the corner, the girls had turned it on to a YouTube channel that plays just a variety of Christian songs and praise and worship. And Timber was with them in a circle, and they were singing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just honestly overwhelmed my heart with so much joy, because in this day and age, with the way this world is, this is all you want.
Yep.
When you're raising children, grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
even ourselves, this world is testing you on every level. And to have their strong faith that they grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
and they've passed on to their children, and their children are just expressing it, and now it's reflecting into my daughter. It's just amazing. Like I said, the support you get from them,
Mm-hmm.
that honestly I never expected at all from them to come.
Right.
I really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I went into this trying to fill a void, and he and her both made me feel like we want you and we want you to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And he even asked me that day leaving his house, he said, so moving forward, where do you see this going? I said, I only hope it grows.
Oh.
And he's like, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you've hooked back up with your biological brother. So any other family members on that side? She has 2 other boys as well. Shane is the only other one I've met. He definitely carries on the curly hair. So, if anybody has any like stress factors about like how I deal with this, sometimes I'm like, I'm not dealing with it. I just want to shave it off. Like, he understands it. Now, my brother, he does have thick hair. And so it's funny because in high school and stuff, like once I started embracing my natural curls, quit straightening it, I was like, everything had to be perfect from head to toe. If it wasn't, I had Dad beating the door down at 8:05 saying, school starts in 5 minutes, and it takes me 10 to get you across town. We got to go. And then I find out like he's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's one thing out of place, we got to start over. And it's like, here's another thing.
Mm-hmm. A lot of similarities.
But it's amazing because I've not only met him, I also met my birth mom's sister, and Miss Lolly is, I can't even describe that woman.
Mm-hmm.
The love that I got from her, the first hug I ever got when I got to meet her, I'd actually gone down, it was during COVID because we were shut down here, and they invited us, and they were actually doing a little birthday celebration for her. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time she got to meet me. She had heard of me.
Now explain who she is.
She is my birth mom's sister.
Okay.
So your aunt.
And, yes. And when she turned around to see me for the first time, Lolly just, tears of joy and welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It was, honestly, this whole thing has been like 30-something years wasn't missed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, honestly, somebody has hit the fast forward button so fast. And honestly, with the way time flies by through our lives, we're trying to find that time to always make time as a family, because
Right.
it's like, we forgot about 30 years gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've always been there, just not physically.
So did your brother know about you before you hooked up with your mom?
Yes.
Or birth mom, I should say.
He did know. She
So it
told
wasn't a total
me,
shock to him then, as far as
yes,
when you found out.
he did know that I existed, and she even told me one night over the phone that she, I just got done showing him some pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so he knows I'm talking to you. And I'm like, how did that go? And she's like, well, his response was, what?
Excuse me.
What? And so he asked if I had pictures, and I showed him. And again, still, what? Like, serious? Like, no way. Like, this is really happening. But I think the whole crazy thing out of this mystery was that there's only 45, 50 miles
Mm-hmm.
between us. And none of us knew existed.
Right. Captivated. It's like a Lifetime movie, and you know,
Yeah,
it's just kind of,
right.
I feel like I'm doing this.
We're both like,
I know.
and forget the questions, because really we've kind of asked them.
There's some, I do want to know, so how has this experience of reconnecting with your birth parents, your birth family, influenced your life moving forward? Because we're talking about the topic of adoption, and you, when we started, said now you want to do that.
Mhm.
So what's the impact been like? So it's influenced you.
It has influenced me
Mhm.
in such amazing ways. And like I said, it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may not get roses, and you may not get the outcome of it, but just the fear of it, if you feel like something's missing,
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to go longing for it.
Yeah.
Because deep down, we all have roots, and we all have backgrounds and generations that I think, especially, you know, this day and age as young adults, I mean, we want to make sure we fulfill a purpose here.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it brought back positivity that I honestly lost. And when my husband met me, I was the outgoing, the bubbly, like crazy gal, like I'll do that, sure. I'll go do this silly stunt, whatever. I'll go instead of snow sledding, mud sled in the dark and see if I fall off. Like I just did it all. And then when things would get tough, I wasn't used to that. And like I said, I don't like to share pain, and I don't like to be the person who talks about it. And they made this easy for me to open. And one of the most hardest times was when I lost Dad unexpectedly in November of 2020. And she reached out. She even came. I wasn't expecting that at all. And my brother reached out, and he even sent me a beautiful poem story on Facebook. And that Christmas, we were invited down, and I got my present. I was opening, going through, and in this tissue paper was an ornament. And it was an ornament that had a dove and my dad's name on it. And it's not that I didn't have any faith in them for who they are. I guess I just, from so much letdown, wasn't expecting uplifting from anybody.
Scripture that I hear that's coming to mind is hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a good word maketh thee glad. And if in life there are peaks and there are valleys, and especially if you've been in a depression or there are bumps, there are obstacles, and especially if it's prolonged, you know. But God looks like he's been faithful in this situation, and he's brought healing not only to you but to your family as well.
More than ever. And that ornament, when I opened it, I just remember looking at it and just staring at it. And of course, I got beyond emotional and teary-eyed, and I was already having an issue with my eye because I had just been, going through all kinds of feelings after losing Dad just a month before. So my eyes were having some issues, and I was like, oh, I don't need you to cry right now. Like, I'm already slapping my eyeballs as it is. They're acting
Well, don't you start crying.
And
I'm not doing it today. She already wants to cry. I know it.
But I was just staring at this ornament, and I heard footsteps, and I kind of glanced a little bit, and I saw him coming towards me, and I looked up at him, and he was just like, and I just stood up, and I just hugged him so tightly, because in a moment that I still felt so frail and fragile because I didn't know how to move through these holidays without Dad. That was his way of showing, I'm here.
Right.
I'm here for you, sis. And I do care about you. Because he got this ornament made for me. And I assumed it was from everybody, but it was him. He went out and had this done.
That's sweet.
Stop it, Cassie.
Shut up.
People want to know. People want to know that they matter. People want to know. And I always, because my mind is like this. Like, people are the outstretched hand of God in the earth, and when God reaches someone, he usually does it through a person.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
And so that ability for your brother to do that, and there were bumps, and you were in a place where you needed that,
But God knew I needed them so much, and I stupidly kept letting fear get in my mind and just overcome me all the time, that they wouldn't want me. They didn't want anything to do with me. And it finally just took me putting that foot forward. And now I can't be any more grateful than what I am, because with this journey going on for almost 5 years, we've all grown so much. The support that we have in each other, not just as, you know, my birth mom and me, but my brother and me as well. And it's still crazy at times because I'm still like, oh my gosh, I have a brother. Like, it's just insane. And then it's crazy because I'm like, oh, I'm the older sibling. Like, he's getting ready to have a birthday next month. But it's just, it's just so amazing. And I literally, I remember telling him this on the phone one day because, you know, I was the only one that was placed for adoption. And I know that she has told me that she didn't have, you know, the most glamorous times. But I told him on the phone once, even though I can't go back and be there for the moments that a sister should have been, I hope you know how proud I am of the young man that you have turned out to be now, and that I'm getting to know, because he's such a great example. And I was raised with a Pentecostal family, and that's what she was as well. It still is. And it's one of those things that we have the same, and, you know, biological father, I say it in quotation, and there's nothing against it, but we both agreed to the term that we just say donor, because he was not there for her, and he was not there for either one of us. So for me, there is no means to try to find this person when, you know, you've had all this time to try to, you know, possibly fix or mend any opportunities. But I wish that I could have been there for things that maybe he needed his older sister there for. Even if it was just to pat him on the back and say, good job. You rocked that out. And that's the thing. I'm there now. I got him.
The good, the bad, the ugly, he is stuck with you now.
Yeah, I tell him that all the time. Like, you're stuck with me, so I'm so sorry. But the first birthday party they surprised me with, we all went down to Begg's Pumpkin Patch, and it was just a fun day. The kids have fun. Heck, adults are having fun. We forgot we were adults. Yep. And they had a little surprise birthday party that I didn't know about. And they're like, oh, you know, we're going to have a fire at the house. And I was like, oh, okay, well, sure, we'll come back. I had no idea there was going to be a birthday cake, pretty much like chili and a little potluck thing going on and gifts. And I told him, I was like, you know, I've told you, I've got 30-something years to catch up with childhood banter. So when he was talking to a friend of his about the fire at his house, the cake was getting cut, and I took my opportunity, and I embraced it, and I just swiped that cake and ran past him and just boom, let him have it, and then I ran like the kids. I was gone. I was like, score. I was like, gotcha, because that's just who I am. Like, right. My dad, his birthday, I want to smear it, put his face in it, like, whatever. I've had plenty of times I've tried to get my husband
to work.
The cake away from him.
Hey, cake. Now, the last person that tried to put cake in my face was Wanda, and if she's watching, she will get you.
So looking at time, it's 4:59.
Which
it is. So, and not that we really have a set time, so we can sit here for probably ever, but coming to at least the last question.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to others who are considering searching for their birth parents?
Honestly, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid. Don't go chasing roads, pathways that you feel are just going to fill a void or fill a hole, because you're just going to find yourself circling back around over and over again, trying to figure out who you are. What is my purpose? Where do I belong? And, like, you may have a positive outcome and rekindle things. Find family that exists and could be just a hop over the river. You never know. But don't be afraid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have God with you through it, the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows when it's the right time. 18 years old, he knew it wasn't the right time. But he knew I needed it when I was 31.
So how does this, say it's the last question, but it's not. So we haven't really said a whole lot as far as your adopted side. And like, I mean, so how is that? I mean, how is that connection with them now, with your biological side? Like, how does that all that work?
So they have,
because I can't imagine as a mom how I would handle it, honestly.
I think that you would probably, I don't know, maybe a little bit of fear, you know, but at the same time, I would think you would want, you know, them to know.
I think it's still, it's still tender, is what I call it,
right.
Tender, because, you know, I took this journey on my own. I didn't have any help. I didn't reach out to an agency or an investigator. Like, this was solely me. Besides having a name, I went from there to make the first move. So this was kind of like my little secret. Like, I hadn't even told my husband I had even pursued this until I sent that message that day. And it went through, and then I couldn't obviously like retrieve it. I was like, yeah, it's gone, it's in limbo, bye-bye. So it was kind of like my little secret to myself. And then once this journey began, it was like, wow. And I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable. I have two moms. I have one that gave me the gift of life and still loved all these years. And I have a mom here that also gave me life. God answered the prayers for two women that had needs. One who was praying for a child. One who was praying for a home for her child. He answered both of them. And both of these women, I mean, they have such strong impacts because of how she is, my birth mom being a very godly woman and being raised in a very godly home. I've had that faith. And then they bring that faith with them when they came in my life. So if there is somebody out there, and maybe you've thought about this, and maybe you've wanted to, and you've been scared, reach out to me. I would love to walk you through it, to be your shoulder. I would love to even speak about it. And like I said, I want to carry that on. I want to give that gift to another child or children. I don't know what the Lord will want us to do. But I just know that I want to do the same. And I want to give that love. And I want another mother or mother and father to know, like, child's okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely.
Well, God is a healer and a restorer. And I still have a lot of questions.
Hey, we may have to have a part 2. We may need a part 2.
Absolutely. This has been a very, it's been a fascinating topic.
It has, really has been.
Yeah.
And I had, and I don't even know if I told you that, I was talking to Kelsey about it, and was talking, a friend of ours, Sandra Chastain, and they've fostered kids, and they've adopted, and they are a huge family now. I mean, I forget how many kids, maybe, I don't know, 8 kids. I'm not really for sure. Maybe 3 are like theirs, and the rest have been fostered and then adopted.
That's awesome.
And I actually was going to try to bring her on today, but she was going to be out of town.
Oh, my goodness.
But she is willing to want to do this, so I think it would be.
That's
and
awesome.
we may have other people jump out. Not that it's, but we can always meet somewhere else if we need to.
Yes. No, I hope. I really hope this opens a lot of doors and opportunities, not just for, individuals like myself, but I mean, even for you ladies.
Yeah.
Like I was telling Cassie, your personalities with you, Michelle, and Cassie, like I said, you guys you're building something and there is a purpose. Whether you're going to get that answer now or you're going to get it in months, I feel you guys are building something up, and I feel like God is he's tapping me on the shoulder and he's saying, your purpose is getting ready to start.
Yep.
So I don't know what it's going to be. If it means I speak about this, even write about it,
Right.
write a book. I don't know.
I think
But
that
he's with me every way.
she's on to something, seriously, because a lot of people think that we're here, we're get employed and work a job, and then, then you eventually get older and pass away if you're blessed with years. But there's more than that.
There is.
Everybody
There's so
has a
much.
unique destiny
Yes,
that God wants them to fulfill.
I agree.
So, and you can do the normal day-to-day, or you can ask questions, you can ask, seek, and knock.
Yep.
And he will provide you with that information. But, and I think some people do feel like there's a longing, there's something more, there's
Yes.
something more, something that I'm supposed to do. So, yeah, I think maybe we should do more too.
And it could be.
Hey.
I mean, I told you last weekend service hit me hard.
Yeah.
Today it hit me hard. I sent it to you again.
Oh, you can get me
just
going
shared about,
again. A text.
God gives you challenges and whatever, and
Yes.
every day
So
I
what was
question.
the theme of your sermon today? If you could just put in one sentence, what's the theme?
I mean, just keep going, talk it out. He said, "You must continue," is what he said.
I'm putting something together. So
And you girls are going to have early retirement.
I mean, like, we totally had no idea that. I mean, we've said it many times before.
maybe it was persistence. Was it something similar to that? Do I have to pull it up?
No, yeah, because I don't have my phone, so my memory sucks. Like, I can tell you can probably remember better than I do as far as what I had shared with you.
It was kind of along the same lines of what my pastor talked on, which was like serving your purpose.
Yeah.
You're
fulfilling.
talking about, walking by faith and not by sight. Absolutely.
And it's funny because she read that, and I was just getting ready to say, walk in faith.
Mm-hmm.
Don't question him.
And at the very top of that, oh man, I got rid of it.
What?
At the very top, I wrote, like, at the very end, I was like, talk it out. Do your part. Be who God wants you to be. I'm like, talk it out. Highlight it. He's hashtag TIO. This is where we're at. This
Walk
is
by faith and not by
Yes.
sight. What was the theme for your service today?
Ours, so again, just talking about, fulfilling your purposes. Because we have different levels of people that attend church. And it takes this person at this level to ignite something in somebody at this level. But you serve your purpose as you go through it so that you can continue this and not to be afraid about it. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be scared to express your gift that he's given you, because like you said, everybody has a different purpose. Everybody has a different gift they're blessed with. And seeing how we have musical talents in our family, like I said, I'm doing the Easter program at my church, and working and getting back into doing the praise and worship team at the church as well. And it's just where my heart lies. And so I feel like you girls have a purpose. And I think it's very admiring of you to be empowered like this and to do something and come together and express it with no fear. You're natural. You have no fear, Cassie. Well, you're not fearful. You girls are yourselves.
Walking by faith and not by sight, walking in your purpose. And then ours was being thankful unto God, because even during the times that you didn't think he was there, and when you get out of those places and you look back and you realize that he was there, the gratitude that you have. And I'm like, wow, just because we're not godless. Even when it feels like you're in despair and that he's not there, he is still there.
Yeah.
He's still
Yes, he
there,
is.
but a lot of times you can't see it unless it's hindsight.
Right.
So that, and then the first thing I say when I walk in here, I'm like, sometimes you gotta just trust God. You just gotta trust him. Okay, let's go.
That's when you just say, Jesus, take the wheel. Take it from my hand.
I think
That's what
we
you do.
should look at probably visiting a part 2. And as much as, and the only script on here was the questions. It's totally not scripted.
Yeah, no, this is a good. This is
So
You got bloopers and all, people. But no, I would be willing to do a part 2 if there is, and answer any questions. And like I said, who knows what this is going to open up for me.
Yeah, and we want just like when we visited Heaven's Kitchen, we want to make people aware. This is available to you, and Hannah's available to you. Maybe you have a similar situation, or is she still DJing? Or you don't know. She said, "Wicked." But yeah, I can't get it out of my head now. So like, I'm gonna have to see it in action. But you don't know, so we'll see what God does. But today's been awesome.
It has been.
It has been.
Been looking forward to it.
I feel like I've gotten to know you ladies on a whole different level.
Oh,
Hopefully that's for the good.
She thought we were just cray-cray.
Now she really knows.
She knows.
No.
So I guess we'll wrap it up
Yes.
and consider doing a part 2.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm game for whatever. Like, we literally just fly by the seat of
Yeah.
our pants. So
Yes.
we weren't even for sure what we were talking about today. And when she came in this week, it was just like, or this past week, I'm like, hey.
Yes.
I mean, our goal is to meet every Sunday, right? And so we may be prepared. We may not be. And she brought us a topic. A good one.
All right, so let's wrap it up, ladies. Anybody want to pray us out? Say some.
You do.
Oh, here we go. Kind Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for your goodness and your mercy. And even in the times of despair and drought, you are ever present. Even if it doesn't feel like it, Lord, we thank you, even through Hannah's situation, Lord God, and you seeing what was needed and brought it forth and into manifestation in its time. For anyone that's watching or that may watch this even later, we ask that you reach them where they're at, and in the place where no one sees, where that hurt may still exist. Go in and have your way. And we just thank you for being a light and continue to be a light in and through us. And we just pray that you help everyone that's hurting. And we just honor you today and thank you for just a good session in here. And we just bless you and give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So and God be with us through the week.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks for
kids.
joining us.
Thanks for hanging with us. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Got to figure out how to turn this thing